Afghanistan, the land where empires come to die. For centuries, this unforgiving terrain has swallowed the armies of the British Empire, crushed the Soviet Union marshals, and humbled NATO's finest generals. Time and time again, powerful nations have attempted to conquer this seemingly small, landlocked country, only to face defeat, disaster, and shame. Today, we explore why Afghanistan remains undefeated and how it has become the graveyard of invaders throughout history. Stay tuned as we also dive into a possible future conflict between Israel and Iran, and why even the strongest militaries may struggle in the Middle East's brutal battlefields. Let's go back to the 19th century when the British Empire, one of the most powerful forces on earth, sought to control Afghanistan. In the First Anglo-Afghan War of 1839, British forces entered the country to install a puppet ruler. It seemed like a simple plan, but what followed was one of the most embarrassing defeats in British military history. The disastrous retreat from Kabul in 1842 saw 16,000 soldiers and civilians slaughtered or captured, with only one survivor reaching safety. This wasn't the only British attempt. A second invasion in 1878 also ended in a shaky withdrawal. The rugged Afghan terrain, fierce tribal fighters, and complex political landscape ensured that Afghanistan would not bend to British colonial ambitions. Fast forward to the late 20th century. In 1979, the Soviet Union invaded Afghanistan, hoping to secure a foothold in Central Asia and support the communist government. For nearly a decade, the Soviets threw everything at Afghanistan: tanks, helicopters, troops, but the result was nothing short of catastrophic. The Afghan Mujahideen, aided by the US and Pakistan, turned the war into a quagmire for the Soviets. Guerrilla warfare, the harsh mountain terrain, and a population unwilling to submit bled the Soviet military dry. The war left tens of thousands dead and cost the Soviet Union billions, contributing to the eventual collapse of the USSR itself. Then came NATO, led by the United States. In the wake of the 9/11 attacks, the mission was clear: dismantle the Taliban and eliminate Al-Qaeda. At first, the invasion in 2001 seemed successful. Major cities were captured, the Taliban was overthrown, and hopes were high for a peaceful, democratic Afghanistan. But as we know, the war dragged on. Despite 2 decades of fighting, billions of dollars spent, and advanced technology, NATO forces faced an insurgency that would not fade. In 2021, the world watched in shock as the Taliban reclaimed Kabul, and NATO troops hurriedly withdrew, marking yet another failure of foreign intervention. Now let's look to the future. Could history repeat itself in a potential conflict between Israel and Iran? Tensions have been simmering for decades, and the possibility of an Israeli-led strike, backed by Western allies, remains a looming threat. But like Afghanistan, Iran is not an easy target. The country's strategic depth, mountainous terrain, and well-armed military pose a serious challenge. The Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps and local militias are trained in asymmetric warfare, and any foreign invasion would likely lead to a prolonged bloody conflict, much like what we've seen in Afghanistan. A full-scale invasion could face major setbacks, including missile strikes on Israeli cities, regional destabilization, and guerrilla resistance from Iranian forces. And just like Afghanistan, Iran's defiance could turn this conflict into another costly quagmire. Afghanistan has taught the world a harsh lesson. Strength alone doesn't guarantee victory, especially against a nation that refuses to surrender. As tensions escalate across the globe, from Afghanistan to Iran, the question remains: will the world's military powers ever learn from history? Only time will tell. This is Wisdom Tales of Change, where we explore the untold lessons of history and their impact on our world today. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories that challenge the past and shape the future.